pointed at you, Edward. But all right. We're gonna get started. Our first performer of the evening is himself a wonderful, wonderful poet. But today he is going to be like singing some songs for you. He's just released an album of country music. Some of it was written here in Bell, and it's called Annabelle Told Me To. And we have the musical stylings of Mr. Timmy Ray. Give him your love.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Got my set list. I appreciate y'all being here. I'm excited. I've been dying to come back to Bell. I spent the whole summer here and never actually played music for anybody. So I think Jason accidentally snuck up on me a couple times while I was playing the guitar. This first song, I'm actually going to start with a cover. I know it's a weird move, but I love this song a lot. It's called Purgatory by Tyler Childers. Will you pray for me when the roots of the oak in my ribcage are braiding? If I can think, Lord knows that I would fondly pray for you. High on the hill where the foxhorns blow, down in the grave where they lay me low. Catholic girl, pray for me, I'm my only hope for heaven. When I was a boy, I'd drink and love and smoke and snort my fill. And all the while, I kept in mind the Lord's redeeming grace. High on the hill where the foxhorns blow, down in the city where the heathens go. Catholic girl, pray for me, I'm my only hope for heaven. Reckon he lets free will boys mope around in purgatory. I know that hell is just as real as I'm surely breathing. But I've heard tale of a middle ground I think will work for me. When the time comes for changing worlds, I'll hedge my bets with a Catholic girl. Catholic girl, pray for me, I'm my only hope for heaven. Thank you. Tyler Childers is another great country singer whose first name is actually Timmy. His name is Timmy Tyler. We travel in packs. All right, there's a gentleman on TikTok who goes under the name Uncle Big Tim, and he once said the wise words that Ace Hardware is where you go to buy birdseed and Harbor Freight is where you go to buy tools that are going to break the next day. So I thought about that for a while. I think it's pretty profound. And I wrote a song about it for my friend TJ called Harbor Freight. My friend TJ's telling me that he's lonely, so he's back at the bar hunting hurt. Same sad story of a girl the night before who vanished without as much as a word. Now never mind the logic of approaching the same problems with the same sad solutions every time. Reminds me of my uncle and some wise words he once told me. I suggest that you heed the same advice. Stop buying tools at Harbor Freight unless you want to take them back the very next day. Well, you get what you pay for, they say. Looking for love and tequila, might as well be Harbor Freight. Now think about the other side. Who the hell would call the guy that drooled on them all night? Well, pull yourself together and do a little better. In the meantime, here's some words to live by. Stop buying tools at Harbor Freight unless you want to take them back the very next day. Well, you get what you pay for, they say. Looking for love and tequila, might as well be Harbor Freight. Thank you. I'm gonna be honest, most of my songs are short and weird. Like my poems, and like John Dorsey. This song is loosely based on a true story that never actually happened. It's called Old Swingin' Gate. It's well after 2, yeah, it's good to hear from you. I'll head over before you change your mind. Are you trying to kill the mood with all them empty how are yous? Darling, it's hard to kiss you with disappointment in your eyes. Since the last time we talked, I ain't done much, nothing at all. Yeah, I'm still broke as the lock on that old swinging gate. I used to sneak you through when I brought you back home late. Well, I bet the way your daddy feels about me hasn't changed. If he only knew what you were up to at 2 a.m. today. They say that the heart beats its truest after dark. The sun goes down and I am on your mind. But that doesn't mean that it knows what it needs. Always reaching back for the trash you left behind. You wanted to see the man of your dreams, but you got me. Yeah, I'm still broke as the lock on that old swinging gate. I used to sneak you through when I brought you back home late. Well, I bet the way your daddy feels about me hasn't changed. If he only knew what you were up to at 2 a.m. today. I'm broke as the lock on that old swinging gate. I used to sneak you through when I brought you back home late. I bet the way your daddy feels about me hasn't changed. Well, you tell him I'll still let him try and say it to my face. Woo. Thank you. Thank you very much. Y'all are a great audience. Now we're going to play a real country song. There's an old cowboy poet named Gail I. Gardner who wrote a song. We're all familiar with The Devil Went Down to Georgia. This is a way better version of a song like that. It was most recently done by Colter Wall, but it's been recorded by a lot of people. It's called Cy Repeats. Well, it was way high up in the Cy Repeats where the yeller pines grow tall. Rusty Jigs and a Sandy Sam had a roundup camp last fall. Had their ponies up and their running irons and maybe a dog or two. And they allowed they'd brand every lop-eared calf that come within their view. Well, many a lop-eared doggy, if he didn't bunch up by day, had his long ears whittled and his old hide sizzled in the most artistic way. Said Rusty Jigs to Sandy Sam as he throwed his Seago down. I'm sick of the smell of burning hair and I figures I'll go to town. Well, they starts her in at the Kentucky bar at the head of the Whiskey Row. Ends her up at the Depot House at 40 drinks below. So they winds her up, they turns around, and they goes her the other way. I tell you the Lord's forsaken truth, them boys got drunk that day. Now they was a-headed back to camp in a pack and a mighty good load. When who should they meet but the devil himself come prancing down that road. Now the devil he said, "You cowboy skunks, you better go hunt your holes. 'Cause I've come up from the Hell's Rim Rock to gather in your souls." Said Rusty Jigs to the devil, "Though I know we're tight, no devil ever took no cow punch without one kind of fight." So Rusty Jigs punched a hole in his rope and he swung her straight and true. Lassoed on to the devil's horns and he's taking his dallies too. Now Sandy Sam was a Riata man with his gut line coiled up neat. So he shakes her out and builds a loop and lassos the devil's hind feet. Well, they tails him down, stretches him out while the irons is a-getting hot. Cropped and swallowed forked his ears and they branded him up a lot. Pruned him up with the D-horn saw, tied knots in his tail for a joke. And they rode off and left him there necked up to a blackjack oak. So if you're ever up in the Cy Repeats and you hear one hell of a wail, you'll know it's that devil a-bellerin' around about them knots in his tail. You'll know it's that devil a-bellerin' around about them knots in his tail. Woo! I'm gonna do a few more and then Mike's gonna take over and we're gonna do that again. We're kinda alternating tonight. Couple few is a musician term, if you didn't know. This song is called Annabelle Told Me To. It's about my friend Annabelle, who has to deal with my depressive texts late at night, and she always tells me to go to bed, and I don't. She's also featured, she's the girl on the cover, or on the sticker, and she's addressed on the cover. So this song goes out to Annabelle. Annabelle told me to surrender, hand over my bottle and go to bed. She said to put my phone away before it turned me into tears, and while I'm at improvement, make a couple of new friends. Well, I told her I'm not old enough to quit. The morning's just an excuse for the dead. And if friends wanted finding, they'd stop all that hiding and tell me I'm the best thing that's happened to them. Well, most of the time I ignore her, and I've picked up all the tricks to justify my behavior that gets me into trouble. Well, I'm feeling like I'm starting to reprioritize, 'cause I'm looking for a reason to do better, something worthwhile I can give. Annabelle told me to sing a song, and so I did. Thank you. This one is called Hangover Blues. Uno momento. This one is called Hangover Blues. Well, I wake up and my alarm is a dick. It's telling me responsibility is calling again. I stayed up late and I drank more than I originally planned. Well, I get up and my stomach hurts. My head is hanging low from a hangover. But even still, tonight I will drink as much as I possibly can. Well, my decisions aren't always wise, but I have fun at least 99% of the time. I've got a problem, but so do my friends, so it's fine. And later, when I get off work, I shake off the anger that my boss isn't worth. Make my usual stop at the liquor store to get a night's supply of booze. And I spend a king's ransom on enough dickel to make a hillbilly handsome, sit on my ass and raise a glass to a time when I had something to lose. Well, my decisions aren't always wise, but I have fun at least 99% of the time. I've got a problem, and so do my friends. I've got a problem. Oh, we all have them. I've got a problem, but I'm an American, so it's fine. All right, I'm going to play one more song, and I'm going to hand it over to Mike. This is a cover. It's one of my favorite songs. It's by Zach Bryan. It's called Snow. He's an Oklahoma boy, but we'll forgive him for that. I heard you like to go out late at night, dancing in the amber of the southern lights. Knew you were home by the creek in the floor, your foot silhouette under a bedroom door. Driving me home at 7 a.m., your hand in mine like a heaven-sent hymn, moving and shaking like the Ramblers do, after getting through the days I never thought I'd get through. You bring heaven down to me, course it through my blood as I breathe. I bet the angel's jealous of a girl I know, takes my stain and makes me white as snow. White as snow. I hear Jesus makes sin white as linen, like the sheets that you're in and your teeth when you're grinning. So take it away and you give it to God, like the night you poured out all the liquor I bought. There's a way the grass smells on a summer night when it's freshly cut and the moisture's right. It's nights like these in the August heat. I think the devil's just another boy I can beat. You bring heaven down to me, course it through my blood as I breathe. I bet the angel's jealous of a girl I know, takes my stain and makes me white as snow. White as snow. Whew! Thank you very much. We're gonna hand things over to Mike. Move my stuff out of your way.
Thank you for that, Tim. I'm going to remind people that Tim has copies of his debut CD up at the front of the store. They are $10. He had marked them at $8, but I changed his mind because he does not have a pocket of $1 bills to give you change. So I'm going to, before I bring Mike up here, I'm going to say that you are listening to Barb's Books Presents, and October 2nd at 6 p.m., we will have Tony Brewer here from Bloomington, Indiana, as well as Tim Heerdink, and they will be traveling together to give a feature reading here. That is October 2nd. And then October 23rd, Bell's own poet laureate John Clayton will be here as our featured reader. And then I believe November 13th at 6 p.m., which is also a Saturday, Daniel Wright and Rich C. Christensen will be here from St. Louis. And that is what I know so far. So just to let people know, and there will be open mics at each of those events. I will try to schedule 2 events per month. This month there is one because I have family coming in, so that's what we're doing. But with that, I would like to introduce my friend Mike James, who drove 7 hours to be here from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Mike and I have been friends for a pretty long time. I don't know how long we've known each other now, Mike. It's been a while.
10 years.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be. And Mike is the author of several books. These are 2 of the most recent, the most recent being Leftover Distances. And this is a book of Mike's that I really love called Jumping Drawbridges in Technicolor. And these and several other books that Mike has done are also in the store. He has priced everything at $10, so you don't have to even think about it. You shouldn't think about it. You should just buy them. Just Mike has, I don't even know quite what to say except that Mike has published all over the world. But yet he is one of the most humble people that I know. He's a great man, a great father, husband, and a great friend. I'm just honored to have him here. I'm honored that people are willing to travel long distances right now, more or less as a favor, to be here, and it just means so much to me. And I'm just gonna bring up Mike James, and we'll have more from Mr. Timmy Ray. And then Mike will come up again, and then we will have an open mic. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Mike James.
So first, 7 hours is not that far to drive to be around John Dorsey. So I have to say that. And I also have to say I've never done a reading where I had a musician as part of it. So really nice work, Tim. I'm looking forward to listening to your CD on the drive back to Murfreesboro tomorrow morning, very early. So it'll keep me awake. So I'm going to start out by reading a couple poems from my latest book, Leftover Distances. And I'm going to start out, since I'm in Missouri, I'm going to start out with a Missouri poem. And this is called, it starts with a quote from the great Canadian poet, John Thompson. And this is one of the wonderful things about the internet and mistakes. I had a friend who recommended a poet to me, and I misread his text. So I tend to trust his opinion, so I looked up what I read, which was John Thompson, who is a late, great Canadian poet who I had not heard of, but now I've now got his collected poems, and he's become one of my favorite poets. And this poem starts with a quote from him, and it's called "Nothing But Your Blind, Stupefied Heart." And the poem is called "Drunk Butterflies Near the Missouri River," and it's actually dedicated to one of the gentlemen in the other room, Mr. Jason Ryberg. So this is the poem. Lord, even without belief, today is enough. A little chant I say to myself. Structured right, it is a hymn. Not even I like to hear my singing. Yesterday, I almost got lost going home. I wasn't following the advice of every teacher. Pay attention. I got through school, got home. I drive when I'm lonely, take a lot of back dirt roads. Never found a collapsible bridge in any river. My luck. That's what keeps me driving. It's August. Heat takes up everything. I think of weather, think of rain. Nothing changes. It's still August, with or without the river. I've always lived beside a river. Never once hopped across on rocks. I distrust currents. Don't like darkness, moving fast or slow. We'll walk a long way to take a good bridge. I've heard every cliche about home is true. I'll say that, smile stupidly. I don't always watch how hard the wind blows. I keep going. I go. And this next one's called Almost Autumn and Time to Go. Jesus didn't say much. Hard to speak when your words come out unsavory red. People ask and ask, how many answers are a head shake or a long stare? The tongue shapes the world as best it can. Tell me what I don't know. A long list. Starts with A's. Vowels carry us along, not always merrily. Our tongues click and cluck. We say please to the fishhook when hungry. Please to the needle when sick. Easy to forget the niceties. Hear that preacher curse when he falls in the dark. Neighbors don't hear us. We don't listen to ourselves. Maybe we do and don't care. Is that a conundrum like when is near far and far near? Almost never, unless it is. Everything goes back to travel. Get to heaven or just over there. Some of us stay ready. We live by love or fear. Maybe adventures are one street over. Maybe streets are empty. The answer to travel is always not here. Grace might be in the very next town. There might be room to spare. Sift along long enough. A few things get clear. Yeah, y'all shouldn't clap because y'all might read a poem that I might read a poem and then y'all don't clap, and then tonight I won't be able to sleep because I'll think, was this what was wrong? That they hated it, and I stumbled along. Was it my accent? What was it? So this next poem, my wife hates poetry, which is her punishment for being married to me. But I did ask her. I said, "Any thoughts before I head out there?" And she said, "Well, you should always read a love poem." So I always listen to my wife. So this is that love poem, and it's called "So This Happens." If I believed in sunrises as a cure for all late night disagreements, I'd wake you early and call you to an east window. The two of us have almost outlived belief. Rumi started out offering knowledge to any stranger in his path. he ended offering blessings. Is that how we change between morning and night? One of the things I like about you is how you make halos seem like an affectation of angels and rock stars. Your best friend says your eyes are blue. I always thought they were harvest green, the color of my favorite flea market bought t-shirt. Some people don't like to get dirty. Others swan dive into any trash bin. You were in the middle register. One note either way. I do everything quickly, even rush my love and anger. You take your time, set up house. I look over every fence, make up stories as I pass. After all these years, we ask the same questions again and, yes, again. An old test answered in pencil. We ask, which blank do you fill in? And I have, by a technical term, a shit ton of books. So, like, my 20th one comes out next year. So, I'm just that's really nothing to clap over. Not with that's nothing. I was going to say I've got John Dorsey here, and so that's nothing. So I'm going to just read through some from several of them. And this next one is called Follow the Ground, Not the Sky. If I know where I'm going, I don't get there faster. My pace doesn't change. I'm slow, unsteady. I can follow the sun like on a mission and still lose my way. My past makes a trail I circle back to. Often, I meet an old self. Normally, I look away. My satchel stuffed with unsaid things gets heavier and heavier. Thunderstorms tell me the devil is real. Lightning reminds me to shut my eyes. Sometimes I count or hold my breath. Sometimes I play pretend. I never gave the devil up. He's always around the next corner or ready to steal my shadow if I turn away. He carries the long list of my fears. In a way, the devil is my oldest friend. If that sounds sad, it is. There's never been an angel on my shoulder, not once. And my shoulders are thin. And since we were talking about the devil, this poem's called Saint Heresy in the Garden. Little comes to me as quickly as I wish. There's always that. I treat my hang-ups, phobias, and failings as my most vital parts. One habit is calling everyone Mary if I like them well enough. In that case, the name is a gift. Some respond by giving back a quiz. Some friends part from me, maybe tired from my latest hobby, also known as obsession, maybe exhausted from certain tics, my propensity to use a ball cap to catch rain. Any wisdom I have comes from looking on an almost monthly basis at gas station calendars, black and white movies, and discarded Beatle lyrics. It's not always enough to believe in darkness or the simple broken-hearted. So I believe in Bigfoot, jackalopes, and Mother Mary illuminated on burnt toast. I'll give a little bit of context on the last line of that poem. The only time I ever had a chance to have drinks with the great American poet James Dickey, we were in a bar, and there was a jackalope above the bar. And he said, "Son, do you believe in them things?" And I said, I don't, Mr. Dickey. And he said, "You know what, I don't either, but I had a student who swore he saw one in Oklahoma whenever he went hunting with his daddy." And he said, And I always told him, if you can just bring me one when it's fresh, I'll cook it. So, that's the only jackalope story you'll be hearing tonight, I believe. I don't make any. Maybe Tim has got some. Okay, you've got a jackalope song. I've warmed them up, so I'm just letting you know. So these next two are actually from a. This book starts with a sequence of poems, and none of the poems are titled, but they're all standalone, but they just kind of bleed together. So I'm going to just read two of these poems, then one other before I take my break. But they don't have titles. And this is the first one. Noah gathered animals 2 by 2. Desire works the same way. Not one person alone, like our hands. Desire is a coupling. Both is my favorite. That's a problem. Give me the cherry pie along with the apple. Give me the cheerleader and the pool boy. My favorite place to go is inside my head. Pleasures and damnation swim along as old friends. Sometimes it's like ice skating in hell. Zartra said, hell is other people. My father said, hell is where I'm going. Thankfully, Zartra is not my father. I live helpless among ambiguities. The only thing I miss is what I leave out. For instance, there's no you in these lines. I know. Cue violins. Maybe brass trumpets. A kazoo. And then there's 3 poems there I'm going to have to go back and question. So, and here's the next one. Here we are with an empty sky. Stars don't appear despite our need for a wish. Our imagination can operate from counterfeit options. Bukowski's graveside advice is right. Don't try. Let things happen. Just wait. Some puzzles were meant to be left in a box. Here are 2 simple wants. Neither involves money or sex. One is the name of each person on my street. The second is not to blush so easily. If I went away, I'd grow a beard. People would recognize me by my facial hair. They might call me farmer, then comment on my smooth, white sculpted hands. The day I moved to my house, no neighbor came over to greet me. Movers left. Night started early and dark. Clouds even gave the moon something else to do. And I'm going to read 2 here, and then I'm going to hit it back over to some music with Timmy. When I was in college, the first time, I had a professor who made the comment, if there's one thing you will remember from this class, it is how to pronounce the word epithalamium. And sure enough, 30 years later, the only damn thing I can remember from that class is how to pronounce epithalamium. And an epithalamium, for those who did not take 17th century lit, is a marriage song. So ever since I was 19, I had wanted to write an epithalamium, and it's that time. So this is that poem, epithalamium. I'll say that 7 or 8 more times before I wrap up tonight. At a certain point, you get too old to take up tennis, so you take up pool instead. Think up ways to bank one numbered ball off another into a side pocket, as if all along that was the only place the ball could go. Pool makes sense through clean lines, through unbent grace. Okay, maybe that's too much. Let's just say the science of pool works. The earth follows a path around the sun. The moon follows a path around the earth. Truly, gravity is wonderful, holds us to where we are, which is sometimes where we should be. Two people can stand above a carpet's coffee stain. No, it's a spot they made. They can take turns cursing the stain, the carpet, and the house in that order. Then laugh at each thing in reverse. And I'm going to read this before I hand it over to Tim. One of the things I normally do when I give readings is my late great best friend Jack Wolford was a wonderful poet in Pittsburgh, and I've written a ton of poems referencing him. So I normally, when I have a reading, I will read one poem that references Jack, and this is that poem tonight, and it's called Notes Towards an Informal Elegy, and it's for Jack Wolford. A nurse at her desk said, as I walked by, "Your friend is very profane." "Yes," I said. "He cusses creatively in 2 languages." "Your hospital gown's as big as the bed sheet. I'm surprised it covers you. You seem too large for the bed and the room. Your breath weaker than yesterday, though. I always joke at how fat you are. Say you were like Orson Welles without all that genius baggage. Say you were big enough to make it a threesome when you masturbate. You call me Snow White and dumbass and 3 or 4 words I never learned how to spell. If I count up all the phone conversations, there are hours and hours. I could add them, make a week or 2 or 3. Eventually, I'd quit counting. The hours would run out like they do, like the vending machine runs out of junk food or we run out of change. I'm going out for coffee and a fish sandwich tonight. If the Steelers win, I'll make it an Irish coffee. If they lose, I'll go back and drink alone. Timmy.
I'm going to have Tim come back up here in a second. I just wanted to thank both Osage Arts Community. Mark and Tony are here. I also wanted to thank the Friends of the Bell Library, who are the tenant of this lovely building, and Ed and Eva are here as well, and they are on the board. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And with that, I think someone has lights on out there. Looks to be, but I will just bring up Tim for some more music. Timmy Ray.
Thank you. Get my table. All right, I'm gonna play a song that I actually wrote while I was in residence here over the summer. There was a guy, when I first turned 21, there was a terrible bar that I used to go to called The Sting that used to be a house, and then they turned it into a bar. And there was this guy that hung out there and would drink with me all the time, who had a very unimaginative nickname of Cowboy, and he wore a cowboy hat, and was the world's worst chain smoker. Like, you could hardly understand what he was saying because his voice was so raspy. But he would just sit there and talk, and I'd drink, and I was thinking about some of his stories, and I wrote a song about him. It's called Topeka 1975. I made more friends in jailhouses than in any town like this. Too many damn people full of themselves, full of shit. I made love in motel rooms more than I'd like to admit, but a little highway fever, it ain't steered me wrong yet. I've made more excuses than there are places to be. Made my peace with the deputies in every Kansas county seat. I ain't above cutting and running, honey, I was born to leave. I've left more behind me than I am likely to see. You ask me where I'm from and I don't know where to begin. I lived there my whole life and feel like I have never been. I spent my time down in the dirt, but I never planted roots. Got no home to call my own, no one to come home to. I made my own damn bed and I ain't slept in it twice. Made my name the American way, following my own advice. I ain't above taking some credit where I can get my due. I made it here, now I'll make it clear that I made it without you. You ask me where I'm from and I don't know where to begin. I lived there my whole life and feel like I have never been. I spend my time down in the dirt, but I never planted roots. Got no home to call my own, no one to come home to. You ask me where I'm from and I don't know where to begin. I lived there my whole life and feel like I have never been. I spent my time down in the dirt, but I never planted roots. Got no home to call my own, no one to come home to. Got no home to call my own, no one I want to come home to. Thank you. That is the first song on the record, which, by the way, I do have CDs for sale, as John said. That's also available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, wherever music is streamed, you can find Timmy Ray right now. Unfortunately, you can't find Timmy Ray on the jukebox at Paget's. Not yet. All right, so my dad's big dream was to be a country singer. And when he was a kid, he wrote a song called I'll Never Do That Again. And I do not remember the words to the verses, but the chorus has been stuck in my head since I was about 8 years old. And so I decided to write the rest of the song myself. And so this is called I'll Never Do That Again, but the chorus is written by my dad. I tripped over my words, and I tripped over yours. And just when I was out of things to say, I found a way to say a bit more. Well, you thought I was out of surprises, but all I needed was more time. And now the only thing bigger than the foot in my mouth is my tab and my pride. Well, now I'm all by my lonesome, right by myself, and I've been down this road before. But as long as I live, I'll never do that again. Well, I was sick of waking up to an angel, as if I thought I'd be here every day. I was sitting and complaining to everybody, but everybody's telling me to act my age. Oh, I'm sick of waking up to my own self. What will I think of next? All I've ever done is sulk and moan, so I pretend it's what I do best. Well, now I'm all by my lonesome, right by myself, and I've been down this road too long. But as long as I live, I'll never do that again. And now I'm all by my lonesome, right by myself, and it's easy to place the blame on somebody else. But as long as I live, I'll never do that again. I swear that as long as I live, well, I'll never do that again. Thank you. Thanks, Dad. All right, there's another person from TikTok who she goes by the name Iron Cowgirl, and she's a unionized iron worker in Canada, and she's a barrel racer. And I wrote a song for her that's about 40 seconds long, and I just It's my girlfriend's favorite song on the entire album, so. They don't tell you that not all angels fly. Well, I saw one Parga Yukon down at the Union Hall tonight. A hard hat beauty instead of a halo. Old Delta Dawn ain't got nothing on the girl from Ontario. Oh, angels do pop up in the most unpredictable places, like the prairies up in Canada, raising hell at the barrel races. No matter what state I'm in, I'm always ready for a glimpse of heaven. I see her, the iron cowgirl, she rides again. Thanks. I know. I love it. She's cool. I'm going to do another Zach Bryan song. Sorry for it. It's called Mine. There's a fire burning in the basement that I'd only stoke for you. I'd freeze my whole life if you felt warmth all the way through. You have given hope where hope is hard to find. I hate the man I am, but I will love him when you're mine. When you are mine. No, I ain't so angry when you are mine. This world won't owe me a thing since you are mine. Oh, the Lord could take me. I could die right now with no qualms or questioning. There's Pabst cans on the nightstand where your jewelry's lying now. These times have made me anxious, but there is beauty in finding out how the good days come together like I always swore they'd never. Back when I was younger and my dark days kept me down. When you are mine. No, I ain't so angry when you are mine. This world won't owe me a thing since you are mine. Oh, the Lord could take me. I could die right now with no qualms or questioning. There's a fire burning in the basement that I'd only stoke for you. I'd freeze my whole life if you felt warmth all the way through. You have given hope where hope is hard to find. I hate the man I am, but I will love him when you're mine. Thank you. All right, I'm going to do one more song. This is the last song on the album. It's also probably the least country, or so I've been told. It's called When I Get There. Thank you all very much for listening. I appreciate it. Mike's going to come back up in a minute, and then please stick around for the open mic. This is When I Get There. The things that you know and the things that you don't, they add up to the same sum. Maps and legends, last minute decisions, they take you to the same place when you're done. I'm not saying it's easy not knowing what's next, but I don't think that it gets any easier if you know just what to expect. I'm blowing past every chance I have to look back. There'll be no one to prove that the roads we choose are wrong. And when I get there, if I don't know the answers, we'll pretend that was the plan all along. A reason to be, I'll find one for me, but I don't think you'd understand. If fate is the reason, I'm better off believing that I just didn't deserve the chance. I'm not saying it's easy not knowing what's next, but I don't think that it gets any easier if you know just what to expect. I'm blowing past every chance I have to look back. There'll be no one to prove that the roads we choose are wrong. And when I get there, if I don't know the answers, we'll pretend that was the plan all along. Honestly, I am completely terrified. But no matter what happens will happen, no matter how hard I try. I'm blowing past every chance I have to look back. There'll be no one to prove that the roads we choose are wrong. And when I get there, if I don't know the answers, we'll pretend that was the plan all along. We'll pretend that was the plan all along. We'll pretend that was the plan all along. Thank you very much. Like I said, I got CDs, free stickers, tons of them. Please take them. Thank you.
I hate to disagree with you, Tim, but any song that has mentions wrong roads in it is country music. You know. All right. And with that, we're going to have Mike come up one last time. He's going to read you some poems. And then we're going to get a few open mic people up here. For that, I'm going to need my notebook back if anybody has it. So I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. All right. Again, Mike James. Buy his books. Buy Timmy Ray's album. Thank you for being here. It's pretty awesome. Thank you, guys.
I want to tell you, that was worth the drive from Nashville to hear you, buddy. That was.
Don't spoil him.
Yeah. So, I work in a lot of different forms in regards to poetry. And everything I was reading before was either in free verse or in the Arabic form, which is called a ghazal, the proper pronunciation, or a ghazal, as the great Robert Bly called it. So, but the poems I'm going to finish up with are all prose poems. And I started writing prose poems a while back because I got tired of people thinking that I was autobiographical with my work. And I thought prose poetry might make it a little bit easier because it looked a little bit more like fiction. Because I would have people come up to me after readings and say, "Boy, I hate that about your mother." And I would say, "Well, what's wrong with my mama?" And they would say, "Oh," and I think, "Well, I lie all the time. I do not write memoirs. I write fiction." So I started writing prose poems, and what it really confirmed for me is people are deeply stupid, and that even when I do the most surreal stories in prose poems, people still come up to me and say, "So you've had a lot of encounters with aliens." I have. I've had a lot of those. So, but I'm working backwards a little bit. This is a book of mine called My Favorite House Guest. It came out 4 or 5 years ago, but it's one of my favorite books because it's the only thing I've ever kind of written in a fever. And by that, I mean I wrote it over a 2-month period. And I had poems that would wake me up in the middle of the night. I had poems that I pulled over on the side of the road to work on. Although I've always been pretty diligent in my approach to writing, it was the book was much bigger than this. But I would do 3 or 4 or 5 poems in a day, and it's the one of the 2 things I've ever written where I would actually sweat through my shirt when I was writing. So I kind of set myself up for this because I thought, well, I don't want to be considered a confessional poet, so I'm going to write poems about other people. So all the people in this book are either real or made up, and by made up I mean they're from fictional characters. And I said, well, I'm going to give myself some guidelines. I want to make sure that everything that I reference will be something about the person, that there's at least one line in there referencing a date or a quote or a fact about the poet. And it's one of the 2 books that I've written that when I finished it, I knew that I was done. They asked Jackson Pollock, how do you know when you're done with a painting? And he said, well, how do you know when you're finished making love? And I always thought that was a great drop the mic moment. But this is one of the 2 books I have where I could say that. And the first poem is about one of my favorite writers, Gertrude Stein. And all of these are just titled with the names of the person. And this is Gertrude Stein. Picasso said she would grow into the portrait he painted. And she did. All the rounded spaces she filled in. Her eyes held a place in the distance, and after a while, she was at that place. It did not happen quickly. It took many years. The earth turned round and round, and the place came to her at last. It happened while she sat steady in her chair and sure of herself. The place was filled with flowers. And this next poem is called Tallulah Bankhead. And if you don't know who she is, you should. So she was a great actress from the 40s and 50s. Tallulah Bankhead. If you douche with a garden hose on a neighbor's front lawn, traffic might stop. People will definitely talk. Oh, yes, they will. If you call someone darling, as if it's a proper name, people will love you or hate you or call you affected or all the above in various stages at once. That's probably true. Though facts shouldn't be underlined with lipstick or cocaine. They should be side by side on a table so everyone can choose. And this is one of the, I've only read this one at a time. I read it and someone actually got it and left the reading. So what the hell? It's called Richard Pryor. Was a motherfucker. Lived like a motherfucker. Cussed like a motherfucker. Picked stars out of the dark night like a motherfucker. Drank his blackness from a bottle like a motherfucker. Lit his ass on fire while chewing on a lion's tail and snorting up the white dust of surrender like a motherfucker. Made a joke about aforementioned fire that resulted in numerous laughter-induced pee stains for audience members around the globe. That motherfucker knew darkness so well, he didn't need a flashlight. His scars gave him a map to follow. There were holes in that motherfucking map, too. Some shit he had made up like it was real. And then it was. And y'all are still here. And this is the last one from this. It's called John Wayne. Loved Tolkien and hated horses. How many would bet the reverse? As much an invention as any cowboy or soldier he played. He believed in midnight, bourbon, and tomorrow. walk slow and talk slow across plains and desert. He gave up being Marion to become John Wayne. His second name, 2 syllables, said quickly, like a bullet, or stretched out like a yell in a valley. And since we're on the subject of uber masculine men, this is a poem called "The Films of Burt Reynolds," which you never know what you write that people like. But this book's been was reviewed in half a dozen places, and every reviewer referenced this poem, and I was kind of tickled by it because I had no idea. But this is apparently the something that the reviewers like. But it's called "The Films of Burt Reynolds." Not the films, but the book about the films. Yes, that's a real thing. Someone loved Burt enough to watch each, then write descriptively. Lots of cowboys and cops, lots of loners who stare back at remembered misdeeds. Lots and lots of fast cars, one of which jumped a bridge in the movie Timelessness. One appearance in a Woody Allen movie, the Woody Allen of the 1970s, everyone thought edgy and fresh. There's Burt with a mustache, Burt without. There's Burt with one woman, Burt with 2. Burt young, though not very young. Burt middle age, which seemed to last and last. Burt old, which happened in a day and a half. When I was a boy and he was most famous, my mother said she'd marry him if he'd stop by. Instead, he walked down the red carpet with Dinah and Lauren, Sally and Lonnie. Burt smiled at the camera. He had a famous laugh. And this is called My Wife's Shoes. Thankfully, my feet are small, or her feet are large, or both of us have feet slightly out of proportion to the rest of oh so very typical bodies. We don't complete each other in the way of puzzles, myths, and romantic movies. No, we are the near miss. Most couples are. But as for shoes, they commingle happily in our closet and on our feet. She wears my flip-flops. I wear her sandals. She looks formal and very British banker in my black wingtips. I clean room after room in her flats. And some nights, we turn the radio to ballroom music, and I pretend to be Fred Astaire, led by Ginger Rogers for a change, and dance in high heels in reverse. So I had mentioned stupid people. I have a size 13 shoe. And after reading, someone came up to me and I'd read that poem and he said, "Good God, how big is your wife's feet?" And I said, "Well, that's a poem." It actually came from a comment from Ann Richards, who said that Ginger Rogers did everything that Fred Astaire did, but backwards in high heels. And I said, so this is your only Ann Richards reference for the night. So, and he did not buy a book. So, which makes it an even worse story. And this is called Just Another Family Reunion. My sisters and I argue over who was the biggest disappointment. My parents say it's a tie. When we play cards, we bet mistakes. I'll see your DUI and raise you a divorce. I'll add a divorce to yours and throw in a bankruptcy. This is how it is whenever we get together. Our kids play or else beat each other until their faces resemble bruised tomatoes. Our father sits on the couch and dreams of a better remote. In the kitchen, our mother adds tears to the soup. She's been cooking all these years. So, I've got I've got three more to read, and then I'll be done. Two referencing Mr. Dorsey here. No. Well, one will reference you. But that's close enough. So, this is called Lot's Wife. The marriage was never good. Lot lived and lectured within the dull walls of his piety. Never sipped water or ate a crust of bread without giving thanks, so all might hear. In Sodom, his eyes watched the ground. When women stood in doorways and called, he did not answer. Instead, he scurried down the one path to home. At night, his sand-coarse hands touched his wife, the same spots in the same order. He knew only one way to enter the house of her body, quickly, while shuddering thanks. Beneath him, she dreamed of another salt, her whole life a backward glance. And I got this from, this is dedicated to Scott Weinberg, who was a great poet and very good friend of Mr. Dorsey, and it's called The Lottery Ticket in the Mail. The lottery ticket in the mail for Scott Weinberg. Wasn't a winner. No one likes me that much. No return address on the envelope. The ticket purchased the year of my birth. Someone sending a message I can't guess. I'll put it on the refrigerator right beside the love notes from Noam Chomsky, the death threats from each of the last three popes, and the apple pie recipe my mother sent right before she disinherited me and married a margarita. My refrigerator door is a collage of disappointments. If I ever opened it, I might sob into a river I couldn't cross. I've given up keeping flowers in the kitchen. It's no fun being a fan of anything that quickly dies. Just ask the man who keeps fruit flies as pets. He spends half of each day weeping. And here's the last poem. It's called On Someone's Anniversary. For the sake of argument, let's have one. It's been a while. At least a couple of hours since the last atomic blow-up. You think the world would be better with sprinkles. I mostly disagree. Also, if I won the lottery, I'd invest in umbrella stocks and unicorn farms. I'm a planner like that. You'd spend it all on antique kitchen utensils and misshapen power tools, on oil paintings of Karl Marx and faux leather lampshades embroidered with the face of Mayakovsky. You'd start calling our house an estate and rename it in memory of my feelings. That's just like you. Plus, and I'm sure of this, your pockets would always bulge with quarters and breath mints, and your belt would be decorated with pet rocks in case you decided to take a swim. Thank you, guys.
We've got a few people on the open mic list here. I'm going to start that in a few minutes. I'm going to give everyone like 5 minutes or so to like go talk to Mike, talk to Tim, check out their books. I'm going to say when people do come up, previously when we had open mics here, we didn't really adhere to like any sort of time limit. I'm not specifically going to put a time limit on things, but I'm going to ask if you come up and read no more than 3 pieces. as part of the open mic. If you want to be a featured reader here in the future, we would love to have you be a featured reader here in the future. Just come talk to me about that, and we can always schedule things for anyone who wants to do that. We will be back up here in like 5 minutes or so. Thank you so much.
John, put me on your list. Okay. Please. Well, you know, just be glad it's not hell. It'd be like hot.
It sure would.
That's some fucking optimism. That is beyond glass half full. How's it going, buddy? Had a meeting with Universal Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, wait, could have went better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was completely business. I mean, we had
Okay.
like 3 minutes of like closing interviews, and then it was like, okay, what's going on here? Oh yeah. Hello. Did you get on the list to read? That's what I was trying to figure out. I didn't want to put my name down first so I could hear what other people are doing.
Kind of what I was, yeah.
See, even like Mike James, I used to have people call up to me all the time. Same thing. I wrote a poem about killing my mom, putting her out of her misery. And of course I didn't do that. But people were like really weirded out. that one poem was inspired by putting my cat to sleep.
Oh,
And then I thought, well, what if we put people to sleep the same way? And so then
yeah.
multiple rooms.
Yeah.
There you go.
Did you decide?
I think so. I'm down to 4, so
Oh, okay. Well,
I
you're
just
doing
got to
good.
figure it out. Yeah, that's why I looked everything up because I was afraid I wouldn't have internet. I did. I'm very sorry about that. No, you don't.
Yeah, I'll bat you too. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, you got CD and take as many of these stickers as you want. I got a whole box of them.
Okay, well, enough for me.
All right, well, I appreciate it.
I'm just gonna leave all my stuff here.
Sure, and the CD is already signed,
Okay, great.
so it's worth it. Yeah. Well, yeah, I got these
I think every
printable
poet has
CDs
John Dorsey.
so that I can sign them all.
Every poet.
I know a lot of people. I'll tell you what, my favorite poem you've read is that Richard Pryor.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
really
fun.
like it.
Thank you. So it's funny. I watched this. I love Richard Pryor, but then after he died, that they were like, what would you say was one word that would describe him? So one, he was like 80 songs. I think it's one of the things he said, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was, and so I thought that was funny. Then I was going to this magazine, and I started saying, oh, he's got the law firms, Miles Davis, which they were, he was on.
I just found a couple more that I forgot about. No. There one's for the color. So it was like I wrote in and I wrote like 4 of them, and I used one, and I forgot about the other 3.
Yeah. He was trying to be Timmy.
Well, tell me how you like those San Marino tomatoes.
Oh, I love those
I think
things. I've used them before.
They're, I blanched and exceeded 10 pounds today.
Uh-huh.
And I've got in the fridge. I'm gonna make sauce with them tomorrow.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna make some green tomato sauce too.
Can I sit in this chair?
I'll let you try it.
Well, that's yours, sir.
Well, I can tell you, with my mom, she would have fried them no matter what.
This is in my rider.
She fried everything.
Yeah. A can of Bush Light, a
My
chair.
mother never allowed anyone to use a green tomato until it was about frost time. Because she liked to ride them too
Get my
much.
set list out of the way.
Better do it.
Me, I started
Don't
eating
worry,
when
we've
they
hired a
first
boy to
started
clean
coming
up after you, Timmy Ray.
out. Just in case I died.
Hopefully not be very
Yeah.
CDs are $10. How
the,
much for
the,
him?
Those are free. Take as many of those as you want. Oh, for
I
Annabelle
didn't
himself?
get mine. He's left around. All your friends are gone.
yeah. Eva and I are gonna split it.
I'll split her with you. I'll get her warmed up.
She's adorable.
And then,
And then when she's brought down to lower expectations, then you bring me in.
Yeah, like, we could
I don't know,
really
I just
confuse
started
it.
her for
Yeah.
Start off with Eva, go to me, switch to you.
She's like, it's the same guy. All right. I wanna particularly thank the people that are on the open mic list for staying here and listening to others. Nothing makes me happier than like people that like get the whole experience. I've got 4 people on the open mic list. It's not going to take a whole lot of time to get through it. So here we go. And this gentleman and I have been corresponding on Facebook for a while. We have not met, so I don't have a huge amount in way of introduction. But I'm just going to welcome Michael up here. Michael, it's great to have you with us, really. Thank you so much.
How good is this mic picking up?
It's good. We can raise it if you want to stay.
Well, I'll be happy to sit. So that's all right. I'm from Jefferson City, so just right up the road. We've got a group up there. Michael Brownstein and Bob Bolt, Dick Dalton, if you're familiar with any of those guys. We do a little bit of critiquing, but just read a couple pieces here. Anybody familiar with Freeman Dyson? Mathematical physicist, died last year. If you are any of you Star Trek fans, okay, do you remember the Dyson sphere? Okay, well, that was one of his theories. And that's where it came from. I woke up in the middle of the night because I leave Star Trek Next Generation on to fall asleep to. And it came on and it was like, okay, I'm awake now. So anyhow, found out he died last year. And one of the things he did when he was in college in Cambridge, England, was he had a habit of climbing the sides of buildings and walking the rooftops. And it was something that they started back in his time in school, and it's still going on today. So this was a poem to honor him. It's called Night Climbing for Freeman Dyson. The bricks were just numbers, his steps counting to the rooftops, where he could explore their form under the cover of dark. Mathematic heavens, theorems of the chapel, and a god earthbound. How many atoms burn our days in perpetuity, arcing the blinding path we follow, and then the universe counting down to the darkness of a heat death? Tonight, there is no climate crisis. Tonight, there is no end to these stars, calculating the end, the beginning, the very shape of numbers upon the shingles of Cambridge, losing track of the moon in descent, mankind in decline, a subversive forever chipping at the consensus, the very cobblestone he runs to disappear into morning. Sorry, I haven't done any public readings for a long time, so getting used to it again. Here's another new one here. This is called The Prospector. In the shadows of buildings growing wild along Riverside, the old man scoops another pie tin full of dust, swirls it around, eyes desperate for a glint of hope. He is baked in the afternoon sun, basted in the broth flavored by yesterday, the day before, several more that he cannot remember since his last bath of heavy rain. A passerby flings their Starbucks change, mistaking his pan for a beggar's cup. A quarter, 2 dimes, a shiny new penny. He curses, picking the coins out, considers tossing them before finding a pocket, hiding them away. He wipes his fingers into his new shirt, found last night in the toss and turn of a nearby dumpster. The threadbare hyacinths of a Hawaiian print that reminds him of better days in paradise. But for now, his eyes return to scour the pan for the treasures it may reveal. Broken glass, gravel, an old pop-top, sparkling remnants of shattered dreams. Disappointed, he pours the dust out, putting his tin away in his Fred Meyer prospecting cart. Guess there's no more gold here in California, he mutters, as he slowly walks down the alley and disappears into the setting sun. On this third one, are any of you familiar with the Great Walendas? They were a high wire, yeah, and unfortunately there were several tragedies in their families. Somebody did a painting, Billy Charles Duvall did a painting of the father, the grandfather of all the performers, doing his high wire act in San Juan. And in the painting, it actually looks like he's falling. So this is called The Death of the Aerialist. And he did die in San Juan. So I dreamed of falling, a drop of rain from an empty sky, and it held me to the wire from the early days through those near fearless. Gravity had no hold beyond the taut line, held firm and steady, calm as a leisure walk. I dreamed of falling and saw my family reign, a tragic storm of Walendas. I cried, tears tumbling to the circus floor. What does not kill must be conquered again and again. When one falls, he must rise to honor those who can fly no more. And so we flew, and we were great. I dreamed of my falling, defied all these years. But when gravity shook me loose from the San Juan sky, I could not help still grasping for the clouds. Thank you.
Sometimes it's hard to get off the couch. Thank you, Michael, for being here. And tell those guys, come on down. Like, we welcome anyone who wants to come down. Okay. So with that, I'm going to mix up the order of the list a little bit. And I am going to have OAC's newest resident come up here. He is in time going to be a featured reader here. I've just got to figure out where I'm going to put him on my schedule, and that is Mr. Mac Thorne. Welcome, Mac.
I never really played the lottery, but I do wish for things, sometimes. And the one thing I really wish for is I wish I could whistle with my fingers. I don't know if any of you guys know how to do that, but please, I would like to know how to do that and do that shit at these kind of things. I think it'd be really fun.
Sounds like something Timmy Rainey stuff.
Practice, yeah.
I would figure you would know. Maybe it's possible. Anyway, so this one's called History Channel. So it goes 8:30 a.m. Didn't sleep. Maybe 3 to 5 hours the night before. Former acquaintance bought a house. A picture was posted as evidence for the purchase. It got 50 likes. I just spilt White Castle honey mustard on my t-shirt, saved sauce packet used on a bologna sandwich. The TV is on, and it said Caligula was a masochistic sexual deviant. It said from the other room. I get up to turn it off and try to sleep again. No applause for Nero, I guess. And I was it was like talking to like Mark and Jason when I first showed up here, and somehow it turned into like an hour-long conversation about like what a hipster is. And yeah, and I mean I believe that it's people that can buy into a culture, ruins its authenticity by doing that. But it reminded me of this piece from this book. It's called The Beats. What's the difference between the beatniks and the kids of today? Nothing. Rich kids are still pretending to be poor. Sure, you can write a line and definitely afford to do a few. Walk on the sidewalk and complain about the cops. Drink cheap beer. Pretend like you don't have the insurance that would fix your blotchy skin that would come with the alcohol abuse. Commit a crime. Parents pay the fine. Get into a fight. Spend a night in jail. Walk out with your head held high. Look at you now against the world, the empire that your daddy stole and said he built. Your dirty thrift store shoes look a lot like white guilt. You rebel against a trust fund. If I rebel, I become a bum. I go to jail. My teeth fall out. I get addicted and can't afford the rehab. Even if you've never read Bukowski, we all know how to make a list. This one's called Stop and Go. I don't know if it's like unique to a neighborhood that I grew up in, or there are other stop and goes, but it's a drive-through gas station. It comes with all the bells and whistles and the bullets and the turn. You put the money in and it turns around, and like some sweetheart named Mary is asking what you want, honey, and so it's this poem is basically based off that neighborhood and that intersection of Black Lane and Collinsville Avenue. The screaming never stopped. The holes in the drywall never filled. Glass still shatters against floral wallpaper stains. Fences still shake with torn flesh from lanky frames. Burning rubber tires every quarter mile. Liquid onslaughts, brain cell massacres. Louisville sluggers broken over trailer park crowns. Brandished pistols glimmer with fluorescent gas station lights. Spray paint stains on dirty needle fingernails. Life outside the swamp is a tame psychopath. Instincts diluted by dilaudid. I asked the shrink, how is this supposed to end? Thanks, guys.
I'm just going to say that second piece should be called The Ballad of Chigger Matthews. I'm just putting that out there. But it's because I can't keep my mouth shut. All right. And because...
They've never met, correct?
What's that? No. Complete coincidence.
Is he the guy with the toothpick?
Toothpick?
He's a man of many toothpicks, but that's what...
That is...
He might have came up to stay with us one time.
I mean, maybe
Wow.
that's just a bit of karma right there. But okay, because I would like to end this evening. We have two more people, and because I would like to end this evening with someone new, I'm gonna proceed with someone who's familiar to most people who have been here, and it's Bell's own poet laureate and my good friend, Mr. John Clayton. John.
When you get to be my age, you take a lot of liberties because we just don't give a damn much anymore. So we just do whatever we want to. I think of poets in different categories, like academic poets, and then poets like Damien Rucci, who's just I don't know how to describe Damien.
That's the whole asshole subgenre.
So I guess I better get my glasses so I can read. Well, that's helpful. My poetry is just whatever falls out of my brain. I have an English teacher, sister-in-law, that I just drive her nuts because, I may have some lines that rhyme and go to something different completely. And I write about what I think about and my experience. Unlike Mike, a lot of my poems have a hint of truth in them. This poem is called Bone Spurs. I tell you, it could happen to you. I did not know when it first stabbed at me from a bowl of gumbo. In my defense, I had no sense of how delicious a bone spur could be. How was I to know that Mama Joe passed a bone spur off as chicken? It was a dirty little dive where the music was live in Alexandria down by the rail yard. I'll tell you true, that gumbo made an addict of you, and you don't even know it. Many a time when I was in my prime, I drove from Nacogdoches and stood in line, 'cause don't you know, I had such a craving for that gumbo. I swear that in a bowl with cornbread, it looked exactly like the feet of chickens I fed. I'm telling you true. It could happen to you. I'm proud to say, ain't no way. To this very day, I did not know till on Facebook I saw the x-ray. Racism probably is not a topic that a lot of people around Belt think too much about, but I do. And that's the title of this piece. Everyone struggles with bad thoughts each day. Thoughts they think, but try not to say. Jealousy, anger, and greed. Insecurity, nicotine, and things they don't need. I struggle every day to make racism go away and not infect my thoughts and deeds. It's hard. Someone has sown the seeds. I've gone to school. I've learned to read. What a tool. I've lived with other races. I've worked with other races. My intellect tells me racism is wrong. My morality tells me racism is wrong. I see it in others. And yes, sometimes I see it in me. With racism, we can never be free. I fight against it, yet there it is when I least expect it. It niggles its way into my mind. Where does it come from? Is it possible to find? Before 15, I'd never met a person of a different race. Not by design, just the place. I suspect my family's responsible. I suspect my community's responsible. I suspect it was imprinted on my brain when I was small. It must have come from attitude and speech that fall on the brains of little people. Maybe it's from family myth or from those good Baptists I grew up with. I know racism when I see it, when I hear it, when I experience it. Res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. This piece, and I don't call what I do poems, I call them pieces. That way nobody can argue with me, not even my sister-in-law. because they're very clearly pieces. This piece is, I think it's in the Gasconade Review 7. It's called the Columbia Regional Airport. As I waited in the Columbia Regional Airport for the arrival of flight UA 5840 from Chicago, I remembered when I was 17. This land was a soybean field, surrounded by brush piles and multiflora rows. I sat in the east window of the Berkshire house and watched coyotes worry a brush pile. The pressure on the rabbit to run mounted. I wondered if pressure and intimidation would cause the rabbit to make a break for it and run. The largest coyote jumped on top of the brush pile and started digging and yelping. Could the coyote scratching at the limbs cause the rabbit? Could he reach the rabbit? Who knows? Intimidation and terror is a great motivator. The rabbit, too much for this rabbit. He raced out of the brush pile and had a 30-yard head start on the coyotes before they even knew he was gone. 200 yards to the creek bank, and they were gaining. From overhead, out of nowhere, a shadow. Talons reached forward. The rabbit screamed and disappeared into the wild blue yonder. The coyote stopped running, milled around looking confused, wondering what happened to their almost meal. The rabbit was disappeared by something it did not see coming. There are no more brush piles, no more soybeans, no more multiflora rows, no more rabbits. There's only chain link fences, concrete, stone and metal buildings, cars, airplanes. The only sounds are the sounds of cars, the squawk of rubber hitting the runway, a loudspeaker that no one can understand, the whir of automatic sliding doors. The only animal life are little dogs dressed in colorful clothing, tugging at leashes held by old women. All of the humans have faces pinched with anxiety and uncertainty as they wonder if today is the day they will be disappeared by something they cannot see coming. Thank you.
Since John mentioned Gasconade Review 7, I want to say that we just recently released that volume through OAC Books. Since December of 2017, Jason and I have been co-editing the Gasconade Review, which was my original Poet Laureate project for Bell. And as of December of this year, we are going to be launching Gasconade Press. Because we decided instead of 2 volumes a year, we're going to have one of the Gasconade Review, and then we're going to do multiple titles by single authors. And I would love it if one of those single authors during the year came out of this open mic period, and I got to experience someone new and therefore decided to do a book for them. I think that would be awesome. So the more people that come to this, there's the potentiality of that. So in your own self-interest, like, come do it, because that's why most people do most things, right? With that, I will just close this evening with a lady who I met earlier today who has been gracious enough to be here since at least like 5 o'clock. I'm not even sure I was here when she got here because I was too busy drinking grape sodas. But with that, we'll bring up Mary Edwards. Mary, thank you for being here. And Mary is going to be having a launch for her own book. She's asked me about doing it here. We are going to accommodate that. She and I will talk tomorrow and figure out when that's going to happen. Mary, thank you.
Okay, the first one I'm going to do is anniversaries. I said yes again today. It wasn't a white lace yes, sworn beneath hollowed arches, delicately birthed, like baby's breath in white bouquet. No, this blood-red yes I tore from me, nearly stillborn, an almost ugly yes, yet real. It twisted its way to you silently, with only our unwashed breakfast plate faces between us. It takes so many yeses, spoken in an eternity of tongues, to nurture that first wedding yes. Okay, this is one of, some of mine rhyme and some of them don't. This is one that does. Rut or river. We pause neath budded bough to allow scant shade to soothe us, bathe as fevered brow. Worn with the day, I watched my wondering boy. A river, he pointed, eyes dancing joy. 'Twas but a rut, no water coursing through, bleak as a winter morn, bereft of dew. In cracked, caked, used groove, now nowhere bent, he saw a life vessel, however spent. Could hope flow through life's ruts if we just dare to let God transform us into rivers rare? Are you having trouble hearing me?
I am.
Okay, I saw you doing that.
Sorry.
Okay, did you hear some of that anyway? No? Am I not close enough maybe, or? Okay. Let's see. And I need one more. Okay. Mommying, is this better? Can you hear me? Can you hear me back there? Okay. Mommying. My child, half an armful bundle, a bright-eyed, tiny, wrinkled piece of humanity. New, soft, helpless, moldable, and mine, at least for a while. A sun-sized light bulb goes off in my mind, explodes my life, my fears, my excuses for not meeting life head on. My child, my gift, my miracle. I, the parent, for better or worse. I must let go of my timidity, grasp life, and let it flow through me, or my child may be stillborn yet. Late evening, alone in den. Cramped over paperwork, fingers white on pen. A warm kiss plants on my forehead. Hands cup my chin, tilt up my face, and blue eyes look ocean deep into mine. Something wrong. Penetrating blue eyes so hard to lie to, pretend strong to. Slender, small fingers tugging at corners of my mouth. A smile they demand, a smile pulling harder, a smile. Better, blue eyes say, as fingers drop to clasp around my neck. Now, want to talk about it, she asked. That's it.
Thank you, everybody. Jeremy made me aware that, first off, I want to thank Jeremy and Tony and Jason for making this all technologically possible, because I'm a bit of a techno idiot and none of this would have gotten done right. But Jeremy made me aware that if anyone who has read tonight wants a copy of the recording of their reading, he is going to send it to me and I can send it to you. So that's available. So I just want to end by saying thank you so much. Like I said earlier, the next one of these I plan to have, and it will include an open mic, is Saturday, October 2nd at 6 p.m. So mark your calendar. We will have featured readers here. We will have an open mic, and I always look forward to seeing everyone. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now let's go eat hamburgers.
Paget still serving?
They should be. Yeah, they should be.
What time do they close? What time they stop cooking?
When people leave sometimes.
Okay.
There's really no set like thing.
Yeah, sometimes
Do we
I'll
need to
say.
gather up the chairs?